Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our weekend video for All Bar None Racing. Selections covered from myself, Andrew Staines, Steve Bowers, Mark Blackford and Tom Drinkwater. Firstly, I've got to start with last weekend because it was something of beauty, really. It doesn't happen every weekend. We try our best to find your winners, but more or less going through the card is something that takes a hell of a lot of doing, and it's exactly what happened last week at Ascot, and where else were we racing? Up north somewhere, Haydock. It was an absolutely outstanding day, especially at Haydock. Steve actually had, I think it was 4 or 5 winners there himself. Tom had a couple. It finished off with a lovely Strictly a Dancer follower. It's just one of those weekends where everything goes in. Lots of bets were landed. Hope you got on. And hope plenty of your friends did, and there was some big, like I said, some big bucks taken off the bookies, which is what we're here for, to try and do and try and help you. We move on this weekend. Newbury's, as most of us will call it, the Hennessy meeting. It's now the Ladbroke's meeting. A fine 2-day meeting, one of the best in the UK in terms of just a 2-dayer. Loads of quality. We've just witnessed today's racing, which had a couple of surprises in there. The start with the resurgence of back to form of Thomas Darby. I think they tried something new there with a tongue tie on him today, and it seems to have done the trick. Always threatened to be a lively horse, and it appears to have just done that. We've also seen a great performance from Fanny Industrial, which was for me one of the best of the day, which was outstanding, and it cannot go without mentioning 560 grand horse that everybody keeps talking about, John Bob. He looks an absolute aeroplane. He looks a machine, and not only is he Duvan's brother, he does actually, if you go back and look through Duvan's videos over hurdles, he jumps just like a big, long, rangy, scopy horse. I think that we're already looking at the supreme winner there. It's going to take a bloody good one to change my mind on that front. 5-1 at the moment for that, so that still looks a knocking bet if you ask me. Anyway, moving on to today's card, we've got lots of racing to cover. I'm going to start in the first race, which is a mare's novice listed hurdle race. So in terms of selections for the race, Tom does want to put one forward, so does Steve. I'll tell you what I fancy in the race as well, and when Mark wants to chip in, he doesn't always go through the car, but it gives us a few, which is often, really good. He had a great day today as well. So start with Steve. Theatre Glory, the Henderson horse, who has a record of 2 runs, 2 wins so far. One at Worcester, one at Huntingdon. I'm glad it's left and right-handed, so it shows that he's a very straightforward horse, or she is a very straightforward horse, should I say. Theatre Glory is a 4-year-old filly. I can see why Steve likes this one. It is stepping up in class in this particular race, but so are others in it, and it does take a leap of faith to sort of sometimes see that step up in class. I look back through the videos before I come on here. She does look a right bull of a thing, and a very Henderson type horse, if you ask me, especially for these mares. So it's very strong. She's at Fame and Glory. We don't know quite what the weather's going to do, but at the moment it looks pretty good. Fame and Glory would be well renowned for good ground and no problems there. I can see why he likes this one. I think this one could also step up and be right in the mix tomorrow. Sam likes Rainy Day Woman. Well, I think the good news here for anybody who wants to follow this one is Tom Drinkwater, sorry, likes Rainy Day Woman. You can see why. His brother, who trains the horse, Cup of Coffee, which some of you may know of, she's pretty much one of the stable stars there at the Drinkwater stables, and to be honest, she's electric. She's got loads of gears. She's very, very good. She's been good from sort of day one, as far as I'm sort of told from the yard, and I know Tom's obviously worked with her, sees her do what she's done. She beat Rainy Day Woman by 1.5 lengths at Ludlow last time. Well-timed run by Cup of Coffee, but Rainy Day Woman was quite green in front. They pulled 14 lengths clear of third. I think that tells us that those two are probably well above average. So Rainy Day Woman at 9-1 here, we're taking a step forward. here. There's no reason why she couldn't. Similar sort of ground is going to meet today, maybe even slightly slower, so that shouldn't worry this filly. She's at a Cape Tara, so if the rain comes, she certainly should appreciate it, which we're told it could even be snow, sleet, whatever. So I can see what Tom likes, Rainy Day Woman. Nichols is obviously going well, as we know as well. Cobden, I didn't think he showered himself in glory today on a couple of his rides, but certainly he's in great form as well, so I won't put you off. Very open looking race. Neither of the terriers are a good horse. LS Bell out of the champion bumper, which is starting to fall apart a little bit if you ask me. But I certainly can see why the lads like the first two selections. The next race, for similar reasons I'd probably think, but Tom wants to put forward Ashtown Lad. Ashtown Lad beat their horse in the yard, Buzz de Turcoing. Buzz is actually a really smart horse. He's had his few little niggles and issues and what have you, but actually on his day he's very, very good. He's got a real engine about that horse. And Ashtown Lad pretty much put that to the sword last time out at I think it was at Wetherby, and you know, to looking at it on the bare face of things, that looked a good performance. Comes back here with that experience over this sort of distance. A little step up in trip will probably help. I think that there's no reason why on this ground you're looking at a horse that will go well. The Skeltons are obviously in absolutely outstanding form. Dave Yates is Darren Yates, sorry, is no monkey. He knows exactly what he's doing with his horses as well and keeping them there. So I can see that going well. I don't really have a play in the race. It was one I'm going to watch tomorrow actually, because I do still think that we haven't seen the best of Ahoy Senor. Is the one that I would play in the race, but I don't think we've seen the best of it. It won't be a betting race for me, a big one anyway. Watching, but Tom wants to put forward the selection there. Right, in the next one, we've got three different selections for you. I've got one in this race I quite like, or I'm certainly prepared to sort of say could be in the mix. Two of the lads like one of the same, so I'll start with that one. So Kaluki, who's turned into a bit of a Newbury specialist, and that is why I'm pretty sure the lads like this horse. It's run round here, is it 4 times now, 3 or 4 times, winning once, finishing third next time, finishing second the time after that. And that was the last run here, finishing behind Espoir de T, who is, I believe, reopposes again today, but the terms that it reopposes on aren't as favourable for that one. Kaluki is obviously with Philip Hobbs. His horses last year were in the best of form. This year they seem to be much better. I can see why he likes it again. The lads like it. That's Tom and Steve Kaluki. They think that'll go really well. Mark, his first selection of the day to bring you here is Killer Clown. Now, Killer Clown is a horse that, funnily enough, it won at Kempton on Boxing Day last year, and it beat quite a nice field. And actually, it was the year before. It was actually the year before it won at Boxing Day. I was there that day, and no, I wasn't. That's a lie. I wasn't there the year before. I was there, but it won so impressively. Killer Clown. He looks a really good animal, and to be honest, I think it's disappointed a little bit since, because that was a performance I thought, wow, we're going to see something special. He did go on to finish second behind Umbrigado in a very competitive Greatwood Gold Cup at the course of distance to the Grade 3. After that, he's since ran, I would say, very average. So there is a little bit of risk taken here, but if he returns back to the form of his Kempton and Newbury runs, he's pretty well in as far as I can see. Emma Lavelle is obviously Tom Bellamy. They've proved quite a nice little partnership this year. I can see exactly why Mark likes it. It's his horse that he's put forward, and good luck to him and anybody that likes that one. I know obviously Henry de Bromhead brings a few over tomorrow, which a couple will highlight in a second, but he does bring one over and he puts this into this handicap, and the horse is Sumptu. I thought that actually, if you go back 2 runs to its run at Wexford, where he'd come second to Top Moon, Funky Daddy was in third. A bit further down in that field, you had the likes of the West Awake and Us and Them, who are experienced horses at this sort of level. That was quite a nice performance to finish second there. That was on good ground as well. I think soft ground would be against this horse. It does seem to be that they're running it definitely on the softer ground, on the better ground, so that's why they've come over here probably. It ran in the Galway Plate, which is often the biggest, to be honest, I think it is probably the biggest handicap of the season over in Ireland. It was 11 to 1 that day, very well fancied, and it just didn't get going. Simple as that. A couple of mistakes and it got hampered at one stage, didn't get going. So I thought that you could take a chance. If you go back to Fairy House where it last won a race, a good to yielding ground of nearly 2 miles 6. I think that coming over here, this one could be well handicapped, and really you could see Rachel Blackmore get off the mark back over in England with the Ladbroke connections. They look lethal at the moment, and I think it takes a brave man or woman to back against them being in the mix. The 150, right, okay, we've got Master's Legacy, which is the current 7 to 2 favourite. That is the selection of, I believe, no, I'm thinking of the wrong horse, ignore that. Back to the race, sorry, my apologies. Back to the race. There's nobody else that's actually got a selection of this apart from me. So my selection is Glory and Fortune. Down £1 it says here after the Great Wood, where it finished 6th in a competitive Great Wood a couple of weeks ago. Didn't really get the run of the race that day. Come on the outer, tried to come in, then had to come back out, and just stayed on really. I think this one needs a step up in trip, and that's why I'm quite interested in seeing what it's able to do over 2.5 miles. I think it'd be crying out for a step up in trip. It did go on, if you go back, it won the Welsh Champion Hurdle. Horses in behind that day: Don Levant, Leon Carvalho, Dobrin, Amarillo Sky, bloody Monsieur Lecoq. Honestly, there's loads of horses in behind that day that have come out and ran really, really well. I think the form is not glowing, but it's been franked enough to be very interesting. I thought that at 15 to 2, 8 to 1, 15 to 2, Glory and Fortune was the bet of that race. In the 225, Tom puts forward Soaring Glory. He's got to carry a fair bit of weight and give a fair bit of weight all round to these. It's only a 4-runner race. He obviously put up one of the performances of the season last year when winning the Betfair Hurdle here, carrying 10 stone 7 that day, beating lots of really good horses that day as well. Soaring Glory looks to be, for me, is that horse that's on the cusp of the Champion Hurdle sort of picture. I'm not sure whether he's quite up to that level, but tomorrow will certainly be, and again, has to win that sort of race to get in and win it. Gowl Road, very consistent sort of horse really in the main. Captain Morg's done really well at Ascot to get up last week. Look, that was a really impressive performance, actually come really with a wet sail to win. He's in receipt of a fair bit of weight, so I can see Captain Morg's being the one to chase home Soaring Glory, but like Tom fancies him and says, I think there's enough class there and he will definitely do the business. Right, now on to what is the big one, the Ladbroke Trophy. The big gamble of the race is Eclat de Rire for, again, Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore. I backed it earlier on in the week. I did sort of say to the lads that I thought it would be backed. I thought it was I couldn't believe that it was still a fairly sort of price. I wasn't sure whether it's a good price or not at the time, but now we're looking at it retrospectively, I think it definitely is. 2 of the lads fancy it, and if you're looking for, I'll tell you who fancy it in a second, but if you're looking as to why, I think you should go back and watch its run behind Monkfish last season first and foremost at Cheltenham. It was this horse unseated, and I'm fairly confident to say this, and I know retrospectively it's hard to say, but this would have been the horse that chased Monkfish home, and on that given day, I'm not sure whether Monkfish, because he didn't jump well and it wasn't a great performance in the RSA last year, or the Brown Advisor as it's actually now called. Fiddler on the Roof went on to finish second in that, and he's in this race as well. 11 stone 8 off a mark 154. If this one is to be in that picture, the Gold Cup picture, it has to win this. And that's what we're looking for, is a horse that might step up into that mark. I'm not convinced myself, if I'm honest, even though I've backed it. I've got it on side more than anything, whether or not it is up to that picture, but tomorrow it has to be. It is a good horse. There's nothing really to put off. I was actually blown away by its performance last year at Naas, which made me back it for the 4 miler. I got that wrong. I thought I'd go to the 4 miler. I thought he looked an absolute stayer, and that's all it was. That was on heavy ground, went over 3 miles. He'll certainly get the trip, so you shouldn't be worrying about that. On good ground, be staying all day, and I can see why the lads certainly feel the connections are going to be going home with another of our biggest prizes on the Super Saturday. The Irish are just coming and raiding nowadays all our biggest prizes. Talk of Fiddler on the Roof. Tom and I know Mark has put that up as a, so it's Mark, sorry, just to say, Mark and Steve fancy Clap de Rhea, or whatever it's bloody called. Fiddler on the Roof is also sort of Mark, sort of, yeah, I can see that placing or running well. Tom likes Fiddler on the Roof as well. He did sort of mention to me, I had a chat in the pub last week, and he thought that Fiddler on the Roof was a horse that is going to come into its own this season. Now he's stepped up and trip. Tizards, obviously, we keep saying this, but they weren't in good form last year. Anything they ran, more or less, ran under par. But Fiddler on the Roof, the race, the Colin Parker one at Carlisle, although only over 2.5 miles, you'd have thought it was a lot further the way they raced. It was absolutely a great race to watch. And Fiddler on the Roof just come there, he stayed and stayed and stayed. And that's what he looked like he was doing it, but he showed something that he hasn't showed in the past. He showed a right willingness and attitude to go forward, which at times has been under question. So I think that I can see why they now think this will probably put its head down and run to the line. Personally, I thought the Tizard horses, Copperhead was of interest over that, just because I thought this was really heavily fancied for the race last year. He's not really achieved anything like they thought he was going to. Still rated 148, probably down to a mark that makes him really attractive. At 18 to 1 he's worth a bet, but obviously I think that we're going to need a little bit of rain. He might even not come out. The one that I am going to, I might be absolutely crazy to say this, but I'm going to put up the Hollow Ginge. Finished 4th in the race last year. The ground is perfect. It ran an absolute blinder at Cheltenham in October, when he got beaten ahead by Definite Plan over the 3 mile one. They were 10 lengths clear that day, and he galloped and galloped and galloped, and I thought that was an absolutely brilliant run, and I wouldn't have considered him for this ordinarily. He's rated 142, so he's definitely going to have to take a fair step forward, but he knows his way round here. 4th in the race last year, as I said. Last year he ran in the race off 10 stone 8. This year it's 10.10, but he ran off in the race last year off 144, and he's now running off 142. So I mean, you could do the maths yourself a little bit. He's still got a couple of pounds up his sleeve if he is to put that best foot forward. Cloth Cap was an absolute handicap plot job last year, so they were never going to get near that. I Right as well was at the top of his game, and then you've got the conditional Hollow Ginge who didn't finish that far behind. Just thought that value, I was looking for value, and the Clap de Rhea I've got on side, as I said, as a nice anti-post voucher, but I'm looking elsewhere now, and I thought that the Hollow Ginge was well worth having a few quid on, although who knows, it's a really open looking race. Last race, this is possibly good for all the considered. 3 of us fancy the same horse, and it's a fairly big price horse in a race of this nature. Numitor for Heather Main. Tom Scudamore takes a ride. Here's a really interesting thing for you. Go back and look how much. I don't know why this is the case. Go back and look and have a look to see how many times Tom Scudamore's won the last race on this card over the years. It's a bit weird, to be honest. He's won it a fair few times. Don't know why. Perhaps he looks to hang around and have that bloody winner or whatever. I don't know. It might be a mental thing even. but he has had the winner a fair few times over the years. But going back to this horse, ran a really good race last time out, achieved the official rating of 125, gone up £5 for that, which I think, looking at that run, is pretty fair. He gets in this race off 10 stone 11, now, like I said, off a mark of 130. It looked to me as if that day at Wetherby when it won, on good to soft ground, so we're really looking in that sort of area. It looked to me like this horse had tons in hand. Not £5, it looks as if it had double that at least. So if he is to have that in hand tomorrow, Numitor must take the world of beating in that race, which I think doesn't look. It looks very open essentially. It doesn't look like there's one that stands out in there for us. Going to quickly flick to Newcastle for the Fighting Fifth. Lots of very, very interesting horses in here. Epatante. What to make? Last year's performance of Epatante in this race cost people a lot of money straight after, and the reason being is because so many people would have got on anti-post for the champion hurdle. The way he done that was bloody breathtaking, to be honest. She done that, sorry. She just absolutely tanked right at the home straight, and the way that Aidan Coleman won on her last year was absolutely, well, I still can't, when I watched it back today, you still wouldn't be able to tell you that's one of the easiest, apart from maybe Archibald, that's one of the easiest victories in the race I've ever seen. She doesn't seem to be the same horse to me. She then went on and flattered to see, got beaten in the Christmas hurdle at Kenton. Then we saw her run a bit flat in the champion and then run on. She thinks she finished third. You don't know quite where you're at with it. And the thing that I'm not best pleased with, and Steve pointed this out as well, for those of you that watched the gallops at Newbury about 10 days ago, or 7-10 days ago, she looked a bit flat on the gallop to me. And Steve highlighted it back on our group earlier on, but I thought exactly the same thing. She looked very flat, didn't seem to want to go past the couple, took a bit of time to get going. Perhaps that's just her this day and age, perhaps she's changed, but I'm willing to take her on tomorrow. I think at even money 11 to 8, I don't think she's a bet. I know that people will probably cramp this completely, but So Royale's in the form of his life. He really is in the form of his life, and I can see this one sort of trying to just stalk and then pounce late. Good ground is almost reassured up at Newcastle, I'm told, although we've obviously got some bad weather coming in. Apparently the ground is pretty good up there, and it's not likely to go bad at all. I can see why others in there. Monmoral, unbeaten so far, super impressive at Aintree, absolutely took the mickey out of Adagio, and that must take some doing, because that horse is a serious animal, Adagio. So how good Monmoral is, only time will tell. Good starting point for that. Mark also has put forward a tentative selection just to say that Silver Streak he thinks will come on a ton for its last run. Would need to. That was at Kempton, got beat by So Royale quite convincingly that day. I think if it turned up bottomless, Silver Streak would be very interesting, but I think that one needs it a little bit softer than it's going to get it. So it's a tough race, but I'm going to put forward So Royale and hope that this one can get the run of the race this year and do the business. It is a great day's racing at Newbury. There is also racing elsewhere from Doncaster and Bangor on Dee. There's a few we like there, but I don't want to drag on to those. We'll just stick to the main meetings if we can. But also just to say, Sunday's meeting at Fairy House in Ireland is we've got the Hatton's Grace where Honeysuckle reappears. Now that's another one that will really just get the sort of appetite going. The national hunt is really in gear now, and we're loving it. So hopefully we get winners in. Hopefully you enjoy the video. Please engage with us. Tell us more about what you fancy if you completely disagree. I know they're long videos and stuff, but they're worth watching most weeks. So in terms of getting those winners, so keep engaging with us, and thank you very much. Take care. Bye.